Today on the American Land Seller, we are joined by Bob Osborne with American Legacy Land Co. With an uncanny ability to connect with others, this land agent brings together buyers, sellers, and investors with the utmost level of professionalism. Through open communication, Bob works to create the best possible outcome for all involved. Having worked 40 years in the service industry, he knows what it takes to provide customers with what they need in a land transaction. Originally from Fort Hood, Texas, Bob spent many years in retail grocery management and wholesale distribution, working in everything from retail management, advertising, logistics, warehousing, marketing, sales, and national account management. Plus earned a Distinguished Service Award from Nebraska Grocer Industry. Bob has been exposed to many types of businesses, including farming, land and soil conservation, habitat creation, wildlife management programs, cattle operations, and well water operations. He has a deep understanding of the rural landscape of the Midwest to include state, local, regional, and national programs to assist in closing deals. Big on community involvement, Bob volunteers with many groups wherever time allows. He enjoys all outdoor activities, plus training his Labrador Retriever Hank in upland waterfowl and field trial events. Bob and his wife Kathy have 4 grown children, Jennifer, Justin, Sarah, and Dylan, plus 4 grandchildren, Haley, Cole, Harley, and Harper. Join us as we visit with Bob Osborne from American Legacy Land Co. And as always, we hope you take away something from this episode.
Welcome to the American Land Seller Podcast with your host, Kobe Rickertson. Kobe is an accredited land consultant and multi-state land broker with American Legacy Land Company. Join us each week as we explore all things land. We bring you fresh insights and expert guests on sales, marketing, regulations, economics, and so much more. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms.
Okay, Kobe and our special guests, let's get started.
All right, welcome back to the American Land Seller. Exciting day for me. This is good to have a colleague from my own company on today, Bob Osborne from American Legacy Land Co. How are you today, Mr. Bob?
Kobe, doing great. Yourself?
Man, I'm doing really, really well this morning. I think it's going to be a good weekend, and I think there's lots of great things on the horizon for the land world, and so I'm pretty excited to be alive.
The weekend. I think we got our first measurable snow right now, and another front coming in. It's amazing. We got 1 inch yesterday with about, in 30 minutes, got an inch of snow come down. But then the cold, right?
Yeah.
I always look forward to this cold. Everybody thinks I'm crazy because my deal is we usually get this week of cold, right? Bitter cold, don't even see 10 degrees. But then typically after that, we're not too far away from spring, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Now it's got to get cold before it gets warm, I guess, in Nebraska at least. That's right. For sure. So, Bob, let's talk just a little bit about just start out. Let's get to know you a little bit. How did you get into the land business?
It was a great story. And it involves my wife, and it actually involves another agent that is with American Legacy Land. He did join the company after I did. But, after my career of being in the retail grocery space and the wholesale space too, I was just longing for that need to get outside again. I always enjoyed being outside. My dad owned multiple businesses that were, per se, outside businesses. Whenever I had time off, I would help him with those things. So, over the years, I'd be in an office, in a boardroom, anything else, looking out and saying, wow, I'd like to be outside. So how it presented itself, really, I was asked to move permanently about 2 hours away from Omaha. We've got family in the area. So at that time, my mother was here with us. I was going to move away from family, right? And that just it just hit me that it wasn't the time to do that, and it was the time to put family first versus the work. So I told my wife I was going to make a change, and this is what I was going to do. And again, you got to have a good support staff. So my wife's super supportive, and she said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." So next day she calls and says, "Hey, have you ever thought about selling real estate?" And I'm like, "God, I don't want to sell homes and stuff." She goes, "No, like land." I'm like, "What?" So she tells me a story about an agent that did work for a competitor of hers, and left that competitor and went to work for a land company. And when their company had an opening, they tried to call and recruit him back because he was that good. And his comment was, "No, I really like what I'm doing now. It gives me a lot more family time, and it gives me, experience in life that I can do something with." So with that being said, she asked me to reach out to him, so I did, and I reached out to now a colleague, and just talked to him about this, and was pretty intrigued about it. And I said, "All right." So I went back, found a job that would pay me to so I could do my real estate classes, right? So I actually went to work for an ice company, and I was a national account manager selling ice to the big boys. So you see ice, it's got to come from somewhere, and on a big level, the W's of the world and places like that, they've got to have an account manager. So how many times a year do you think I had to meet with those retail accounts as account manager for ice? Maybe 2 times a year. So
Sure.
it afforded me quite a bit of time to, again, research, get into the classes, start learning. And I'm going to tell you, right from then, it just turned over a new leaf, because at 57, to start learning again, picking up things, understanding, getting real life situations coming through during the classes, I just couldn't be more excited. So hence, I landed in the land space, and have enjoyed it ever since.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of people though in our industry though, Bob, that get into it a little bit later. I think it's more of an industry of mature people for the most part. I don't. Um, I I know there's a lot of really incredible young people in our world, but I think they have an uphill battle. Just because it's the experience really that sells ourselves a lot of the times. So, you're talking just a little bit like, so you started at 57, um, and what, like, tell us just a little bit about when you're sitting down, taking your real estate exam, getting ready to go with your career. What are you looking forward? What are your goals? Like, what are you thinking? I think I can accomplish this, with the time that I got left with my career.
Yeah, so great question. It was something, and I think, again, the background of the industries that I came from, you always had to have projections, right? So you always had next year's projection, then you had a 3 year, then you had a 5 year projection, and then you had quarterly meetings to see if you were on projection. And so that was just ingrained into me. And I think that's, as you move into some stuff, there's certain ethics of business and follow through and follow up that you know I seen as a benefit that I thought as I was going to move into this career. So I did. I sat down and said, "Hey, first year, let's see if I can't do 10 transactions." I did one. Year two, as I'm sitting down, I'm like, "Well, I did one. Can I do four?" And I did three. So now we're starting into year three. And things are starting to move, and going to get better. So I'm going to more than double my transactions. But, the goals was, the other real goal besides the transaction piece was the learning piece. What do I know today, or what do I think I know today, versus what am I going to be, or where am I going to be at the end of year one? So I think the other big piece of it was the learning aspect. Where can I go out and start to grab information, pull it in, understand, and learn? One of the big things I started with was the University of Nebraska has an ag type podcast that talks about everything from row crop production, cattle production, everything that goes on in the ag industry. First thing I did, signed up, listening to these. Then I looked in Iowa, found one in Kansas, So spent a lot of time just listening and learning on that piece of it. The other piece was I had to identify who I was. And, you just don't arrive in any space. I don't care what you do. So I really had to go out and market and get some information up about myself, the company I was working with, just to try to engage in some conversations. And then the
Sure.
next piece of that was, where am I going to meet people? I came from an industry, again, that you were on the phone. I knew customers by first name, had family connections with them, but also knew them for years and years and years, right? Or generational turnover in grocery stores. So you knew first, second, and now the third generation was taking over. You come to a farm, it's the same thing. You just
Yeah.
have to you have to figure out how to get that information to come out of that landowner today to hear the history. So, kind of to go back, I really started working, going to the Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, any of these places that had some of the outdoor, because I felt comfortable in that area. But it also led to really nice conversation about land. What are you doing to land to improve the habitat? Do you have it? Are you going out of state? Again, just learn more. And then really it opened up my eyes to the big leverage of the recreational properties that are across any state that's out there, depending on what goes on. So really the focus for the goals were education, networking, and branding were my goals as I started to go on. So I really took the transaction piece after, I started looking at it more, and kind of shoved it to the back and just said, it'll come.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of a really good information that you just put out there, especially like, the thing that I love about you, like one of the many things, but is that you are ever learning. Like there's no arrogance. It's just like, let's just go figure this out, like, and there's no fear, like it's just, yeah, well, it's, this is just the thing, and we'll go do the research and then we'll figure it out. So man, that's great to hear. You talk about, like your goals, and again, it's in the land business. You don't have to sell a whole lot to make a decent living. But it's a lot to sell them. I always say, so it's if you're planning on listing something and getting it under contract and getting it gone in 60 days, I can give you some phone numbers for people that sell houses. That's just not us.
No, Kobe, and that's a great piece with you, and now being with the same organization, American Legacy Land, and just kind of hooking I'm going to say hook my wagon to somebody that has been in the business yourself. We've been at a couple shows. You're highly recognizable. Everybody knows who you are. You've had to rebrand in this last year. You've taken that in stride and haven't missed a step. Again, to be at those shows and have a person like you willing to, hey, Bob, make sure, this is a good one. I think you need to be here based on this area. And I'll make you a few introductions, and again, just to have a seasoned agent like yourself feel comfortable to have me along and to feel that, I'm just going to be there and I am going to soak up that information. Because I know you and I have caucused afterward and said, did you hear what he said about that? And you missed some things. I gather some things. But at the end of the day, we've got more information about what's going on. And that's the key.
Well, and I think, like, talking about events like expos and things like that, because, we're getting ready to do several of them in the near future. It's not just about, it's part of it is about putting your brand out there so that people know that you're there, and visiting with people. But the most thing is just like the connecting with your competition even is a lot of fun. They're there. So, Bob, if you don't mind, we're going to take a quick break, and then if you've got some time, when we come back, let's talk about this new company that we're both a part of, and see what you think of what we're doing so far. So if you guys don't mind, we will be right back. The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by LandHub.com. Join us today and experience the expertise of LandHub's land marketing professionals. Whether you're buying or selling, let us show you the way in the ever-evolving world of land transactions. Visit landhub.com and discover what the future of land marketing looks like. Landhub.com, where your land journey begins. Hey, we're back with Bob Osborne with American Legacy Land Co. We are talking about his career change at, a little bit later in life. I suppose, like, what, you're planning on living to be about 140, Bob, so a little bit less than halfway through. But let's talk about, like, what do you see as parallels as you cross over between, like, the service industry, where you did grocery store stuff, retail, things like that. You crossed over into the land space. Talk a little bit about, what are the parallels? What's the same, and then what's drastically different?
Yeah, I think some of the parallels is, a high level of honesty. There's the integrity. There's a follow up and follow through. I think in the retail world, retail is detail. So as you start to look
Sure.
at the land world, it's the little things that one will get you the listing. I think it's the little things that help you sell the listing. I think it's the little things that you pick up from the family, what's important for them. So I think one of the other pieces is extremely important is being a good listener. Get the conversation going and listen. What are the end goals? What's the timeline? What's the family think? Do we think we're going to have any pitfalls? Is there a timeline involved that you're looking at? So knowing those questions and to get that and keep that conversation going as you meet clients is one. The other piece is not everybody is ready to sell their land today, right? And same thing in the grocery store business. When I was selling grocery stores or helping owners sell their grocery store, they weren't ready, but it's the pre-planning. And I think that's the other piece is I try to get in front of people if they're talking about it. I always ask, have you consulted with a tax accountant yet, or a tax person? Do you have it in a trust? Have you talked to anybody about how that's going to migrate to the kids, to the family, to the grandkids? I really try to ask those questions because I really don't want anybody to get hit with anything that they're not thinking about.
Sure.
And with that being said, that's the same thing that was in the retail part is you always talked about so prior planning prevents poor performance is one thing that I always kind of put out there. That was a deal from my dad in the military. His was a little bit more graphic, and it really dealt with keeping your life. So
Yeah.
he kind of smoothed it down a little bit. But I've heard that a lot. So I think that's the connection, or there's a really nice crossover with that type of thing. And I'm comfortable in that space, so it makes the land piece of it pretty good too.
Yeah, being in the military, I think that's funny. Like the 7 P's to success, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Correct.
So but yeah, I remember that. But I thought it was interesting when you were talking about, like, you're, listening more than you talk. Like the old adage, you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. But I really do want to talk today just a little bit, because you're the first actual American Legacy guy that I've actually gotten on this podcast. So it's kind of exciting for me because we do get to talk about something that's, like, near and dear to my heart. And just recently sat down with the leadership from American Legacy. And man, I'm super pumped as what their vision is and where we're going. And so, why did you decide to land your career, to hit your wagon, so to speak? I think you said that earlier, to this group of outlaws and misfits that that are so much fun to be around. But so what made your decision for you?
Well, Kobe, I think I was in a little bit different situation, and none of the others. I mean, you learn through life and what goes on, and where I came from, I was kind of put in a tough spot in regards to that. The brokerage I was working with, one not based in Nebraska, but two, kind of had a quota of what you needed to do for transactions, right? And for the whole year that I'm working on this, I'm not sitting around doing nothing. I mean, I'm after it.
I know that.
50,000 plus miles on my truck. A lot of investment into some advertising piece, lots of phone calls. I mean, 15, 20 calls a day, follow-up calls, monthly follow-up with some other people. A lot of good stuff, but you know, every state's a little different, I believe, and the go-to plan doesn't really work maybe everywhere. So I don't know that I was doing anything wrong, and why that was, why I really believe in that is because I looked at my marketing background. I know how to leverage myself out on digital, social, print. And in some cases, I wasn't really given the opportunity to do that. So I think that was another piece. The other piece was when you started to look at it like states, um, there's a difference in people turning over land. I mean, in Nebraska, people kind of hang on to their stuff,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
in other states, maybe it's more of a commodity. Guy gets a hunting property and he hunts it for 3 years and he's bored with it and he wants to move on to the next one. Okay, get that. So when that wasn't really an option, I really had to reach out to who now our president of the company, Brian North, and great guy. He meets me. I'm somewhat in a catch-22 possession about like what do I do, where do I go, and so Brian and I sat down, and that's what I really probably started to click for me. Hey, let's meet. We had a nice lunch. I think we talked for over an hour, just about things. And when he was looking past me and kind of looking at the experiences I'd had, but more really, he was looking for the genuineness, is what I got. And here I am trying to just sell myself so I can hang my license somewhere. And he says, "Hey, I'll touch base with you later this afternoon." Because again, I want to make sure we're bringing on the right people. So that was another piece that he had a plan. He understood where he was going with it, and he was holding true to it. So, in the afternoon, I got a call, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna welcome you aboard. Can you be here tomorrow?" And so here I go. I meet him at the office, and really the team at that office at that time, before we'd been to American Legacy Land, just kind of swept me, grabbed me, made me feel comfortable, got my license switched over, and said, "Go get those properties back under contract or back under listing." So again, that was when we were, still with Nebraska Realty slash the Land Division, a division of Nebraska Realty, but now with American Legacy Land. I mean, we've shifted, right? Our focus is solely on land. We've got agents that are full time, like myself, and then we've got agents that are part time. They've got a full time job. They're doing land on the side, but they're mentoring. That's that piece that's going on with that. The open communication, right? But really, the other exciting piece that I'm trying not to get engaged in too much with it is that we are a new company.
Yeah.
Um, I've been at high level where I've helped things lift off and move and everything else. I don't know the land space as good as our current president, Brian, and our vice president, Nick, and our brokers that we have on. So I'm enjoying setting back and watching everything that's going and understanding where we're going and
Yeah.
seeing how it gets built out and the timeliness as things get built out, because it's a big undertaking. But we're still listing properties, we're selling properties, and we're helping each other as a team. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I think you kind of just hinted at this, but the differences in personalities, like I think I like several weeks ago we had David Whitaker from Whitaker Marketing Group, and he made a point of, hey, when I named my company, I specifically named it Whitaker Marketing Group because that's what we do. I'm not I'm not a professional farmer. I know about farm ground because I research it, but I market stuff. I put it in the right people's, and put it in front of the right people. And so, yeah, we do have a multifaceted group with our organization. I mean, we have the hunters and the guys that are like, like that's their forte. We got, farmers that are full-time farmers right now that are actually, that we can tap into. And, like if we have questions and things like that. And so, And then we have the people more like you and I who are marketing, that's where we came from was a marketing background. And so, I grew up on a farm, but I wasn't a, excuse me,
Bless you.
wasn't a, but I didn't go into that career. I went into the military and did a different route instead of going that way. So, but yeah. So, what's
Cody, if I can, you bring up Kobe, a good point. Naming of the company. I know when we were transitioning from the land division over to now American Legacy Land Co., that took some time. Hats off to the leadership. They were putting it together, making sure it was titled where they felt, and something that really kind of ties back to anytime we do sell a property, right? There's a legacy of that owner tied to that ground. What have they done over the years? What's their family? How many generations? There's a piece to that that's huge. I think the color layout, as we talked a lot about the colors and what we do. So those are all parts of building a business that I think anybody that's out there doing anything doesn't have to be selling land, but if you're trying to start a business, not only getting some clients in place and getting some revenue going, but how is your brand out there? How's it perceived? Is it clean? Those are things from like you and I. You said you and I are kind of the marketing guys.
Yeah.
We like that. Let's have it clean. Let's have it crisp. Let's have it to the point. And so hats off again to the leadership when they put that all together.
Yeah, and it's absolutely a sexy brand, that's for sure. But I think, marketing, we have some of the top people in the country that are working on our marketing behind the scenes that, I like the fact that it's mandatory. There's a certain amount of marketing that you're required to do. We're required to have the same photography, the same drone photography, videos, because it sets the tone for maybe one of us isn't as great with photography and that's not our forte. Some of us probably, I had my drone pilot's license. I've done my own drone work and everything like that. So, I probably had a little bit of a leg up on that, but there's a lot of people that don't, and I just want to go play on the dirt. I want to go talk to people. I want to deal with the clients. I don't want the marketing facets. So it's really been a neat deal.
So that was to my point of as kind of setting back. I'll do and help wherever if somebody asks. Absolutely, right? But to be able to get out, to be on property, I know one of the first things when I first got on is to call listings that were up and say, hey, I'd like to take a look at your piece. You mind if I get out on it? It was 3 days a week. I was out on, competition property and understanding what was going on. But, like you mentioned, I've got my dog, Hank, he was a pup. So now he's my administrative assistant. And I always joke, I'll put a video out and Hank will be running in front of me and everything else. And I'll tell people if the property is Hank approved, so he's a great chocolate. He'll turn around and smile when he's running and stuff like that. If I see that smile, I usually tell him, hey, it's Hank approved property. So again, I'm trying to have a little fun with it, but yeah, oh my God, it can be a great day to be out. And even on a cold day, it's good to be out and, be able to have a little, I guess what I would say, a new item like the side-by-side and, putting new modifications on it and things I think you need. And really, I'm doing some stuff for customers too. I just currently, I think I told you, bought a new 11-inch pad to put on so people can kind of see my mapping as I'm going on there.
Oh yeah,
I just ordered pieces, so I'm going to have heated seats, just little things that I think is so fun that it just makes doing what you do a lot better.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, nobody is more excited about going to work than you are, my friend. I can tell you that for sure. So let's just take a quick break and we will be right back. The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by American Legacy Land Company. At American Legacy, our seasoned agents set us apart, providing unmatched service with a personal touch that goes beyond expectations. With a wealth of market knowledge and a diverse portfolio, including farms, ranches, development lands, and recreational properties, we forge lasting connections with clients through honesty, integrity, and transparency. Visit us at AmericanLegacyLandCo.com and find the land that defines your legacy. All right, we are back with Mr. Bob Osborne from American Legacy Land Co. Bob is... we just got through with a couple expos, visiting some folks out there, which was fun. It's the time of the year when you're trying to get out and meet and greet people. Bob, you've got a pretty good listing coming up, if I remember right. Tell us a little bit about the ranch listing that you're going to have going live here any day now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be in Cherry County. It's 3,000 acre ranch. Been in the family for multiple generations. The sellers happen to be friends of mine, and they're friends of mine from the Burwell area because I office out of Burwell. Usually 10 months out of the year, I'm in that area, and then I transition back to the Omaha area during the holidays and stuff like that. So. But yeah, neighbors, I knew they had that property. It was brought up once. I was you were always tempted to go look, right? Never did. Just, I think that's just a respect thing. I mean, they brought it up in passing. I don't want that to be a topic of conversation because they're friends, right?
Yeah.
So when the wife and I go over and have a glass of wine with them and watch a sunset, and maybe we'll have steaks, or they come over when I have kids around or family to see grandkids. It's just kind of nice. It's kind of where we just are. And probably the the other benefit for having a Burwell office is just the people, right? So
it's not rush.
Correct. So when I got the call, they wanted to meet, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So at that time is when I turned on the let's go take a look, right? And was really amazed to see what was there. Was I guess overwhelmed would be one thing in regards to excitement, right? And saying, wow. But then again, wanting to do it right. I mean, these are neighbors. This is going to be a good item for us out there. So with that, I did reach out to leadership in our company, and we talked about that. And we talked about a lot of things, make sure we go to market right, make sure that we're priced right, make sure we understand the ranch, and then mainly understand what are the sellers really looking to do. So really meeting with them was a great deal. We met, we were together for about 4 hours. And really that's that listening part, right?
Yeah.
Where'd the ranch come from? How many acres did they have in the past? Have they sold other pieces off? That just kind of was setting the stage for, where are we at today, right? So I had comps available from them. We looked at some things, we talked, and it was somewhat of an emotional thing for the seller, right? It's a big deal. It's the last piece of the family, but she knew that the kids were going to sell it. So she wanted to help and do some different things. So yeah, I got the listing. I'm going to co-list it with some leadership that have more experience in that space. And again, it's going to be a great opportunity to learn, right?
Yeah.
Learn about the whole thing. So the tenant connection is going to be the next one. I think the owner is very specific on where we're going to try to work with the tenant as much as possible to see if we can't go forward with it. So that's a big listing. So something I've been working for I guess if you look at it, 2.5 years for that area out of Burwell, because that's ranch land up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, going to the sale barns and hanging flyers up in and around all those small communities. Now it'd be really good to market something or show people that, hey, we've got something on there. And it's a great step off point for us as a company, and that's what the leadership and myself talked about is that's going to let people know who we are and that we can do this. Because we've got some big listings as a company right now, which are really, really good. And hopefully those we'll get those down the road and close. But yeah, this is going to be my first good ag piece because I got a fair amount of commercial pieces. So
yeah, and I think that it's really kind of one of those things where you in this industry you can get really, really frustrated because you do wake up early, you put everything out there, you invest. And, you were just talking about, you're in what, year 3 of your real estate journey, and finally starting to pay some dividends. Even, I know you have that connection, but that's kind of our business. But yeah, that's an awesome story.
Yeah, Kobe. I mean, and I don't want to brag on this because I've got to sell these pieces, but I'm 20 million right now, listed. So that's big.
Mhm.
That to me, that's that, and I don't. I mean, that's a whiteboard that I look at every time I walk in my office. That's the first thing, and it's like, how am I going to take care of getting those sold for those people? And
Right.
they've entrusted that in me, and the clock's ticking, right? So it's a big deal. It's a big jump off, but it's fun. I mean, when I came from, like you said, I came from the grocery industry. We're 24/7. So I'm in the land bit space. I guess I don't know anything. And my wife joked the other day. She goes, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I got to go take care of a couple things." She goes, "You shouldn't have to work all the time." I said, "I'm not working. This is fun."
Yeah.
You know, so it's an investment in our future. So
Well, and I think if the more you work at it, the more it comes to you. Like the more. I mean, you still have to obviously hustle, but I know, like you're going to get to go this year, but I've gone several years to the National Land Conference, and you go talk to some of these big shots that sell, 500, $600 million worth of land a year. A lot of it development, but and the jokes that they make are, I didn't want to sell residential property because I wanted to go to work at 7 and go home at 5. Like I wanted a real job,
right.
and for the most part, that's realistically what they do. When we have a lot of ground that we cover, of course, out in the Midwest, but so we don't usually make that work. But
Well,
let's
and Kobe, I just want to add to that. I mean, Realtor Land Institute. When you talked to me about that, and you were going through kind of the deal, what it was doing, your benefits you thought you got from it. You know what I did that night.
yeah,
I mean,
researched it.
you went and went back to spend some time with your family, and I got to spend some time there waiting for the next day of the expo. I did. I researched it. I read every single page that they had on there. I looked at it, and I'm thinking, here we go. Because when you look at your CE classes that you need to take, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to be back into some of these, which is fine. I need to learn some of that because somebody may ask for advice and not have it. But here's a land piece. Everybody's in the land space. To your point, there are big people in there. And the courses and the curriculum that they offer that you can get some accreditations is exactly what I was looking for. So I remember, I think the next day I sent you a text, hey, I'm signed up. Wife's working on tickets, got the motel rolling. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping me find another avenue for education. I really appreciate that.
Well, and that's like, it's kind of funny because, like when American Legacy formed last year, and it kind of, like I really didn't have anything to do within our land. Like I came into American Legacy Land Company, and so I think that there were a couple of us that was the case, our timing was, and honestly, I don't know that I the branding. I'm a multi-state land broker. You have a couple of states yourself. Like I just don't think I was not happy with the NR land idea. Like the people, but when they told me, hey, I hear you're kind of looking at making a change, and just I wanted to talk to you about it, and I said, yeah, and I think you guys are great, but the Nebraska connection for me, I kind of go outside the state lines a little bit more than that, and oh, didn't you hear? Like, didn't they tell you that we're changing our name? And I was like, whoa, okay, yeah.
Kobe,
So,
what a great thing. The foresight for that, right? Again, the leadership to understand, again, to put in a 3 or 5 year type scope of where we're going to go. Look at, as soon as we rebranded, the caliber of agents/brokers that we've attracted. I
oh, I
mean,
know,
some really top-notch people that are, again, focused on land, that want to learn, that are going to do their absolute best for a customer. You can just see it when we've gotten together in the room. Just a super neat caliber, and it's just going to be a great thing going forward. I think we're going to continue to attract good people.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. Some of the, again, it's, what's the company's slogan for the last year has been, we're flying a plane we're building.
Correct.
So I think that there's, like when I met with Nick and Brian, the leadership guys, that was one of the things that, I did mention was there's been a few, bristly moments, but I think that's to be expected with something so new. And again, like, I think there's no doubt in my mind we're changing the industry.
Right.
And the, like I was with Remax. I know the Dave Liniger story, how he was ostracized and thrown out of all the country clubs in Denver because he made a change in the industry and was valuing the agents over the, like, his attitude is I just want to make enough to make sure my office is paid for. I don't need all the agents' money. I think this is, with the higher commission structure and the marketing and I think, in Burwell, and this is not to talk bad about people in the industry, but there's a lot of very small, old fashioned, I just list it and everybody knows me and they come buy it. That's the way, there's really not a lot of work to it. And so I think coming in, being a local connection and coming in and with the competing with American Legacy on your, behind you. I mean, talk just a little bit about that. That's got to be like almost like a superhero, kind of,
Well,
especially in that part of the country.
well, one thing I got to say, I've got tons of respect and really a decent working relationship with all those 3 or 4 companies that are in and around the Burwell area.
Sure.
And the respect comes from, people continue to do business with them because they know them, right?
Yeah.
They like them, and they've done transactions with them before, right? So to your point, yeah, they've got a short list of people they can call. They really know where a lot of people are. But as we start to look at that area, excuse me, there's a fair amount of property that is out of state owned. Right.
Yeah.
And so how long has it been out of state owned? Where's the connection? And that new person that's looking at it, yeah, they're going to look at the marketing. They're going to look at the next level. And is it more than a website? Is there a Facebook presence? Is there an Instagram presence? Is there a LinkedIn presence? Is there a video? Are you marketing outside of just the local area? Are you doing a regional marketing? And then what's your national marketing look like? Because I own that property up there and I live in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you don't know the industry that any of these guys come from. Everything's going techie, right? Everything is going tech. But, with that said, some of the good, steadfast past ways of doing and marketing real estate still works. Newspaper, having it out on a website, but more so picking up the phone and calling people, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what I'm looking at doing is just offering another option, and some parcels might be easier to sell than others. In that area, I think we have a fair amount of younger generation looking to get into not only the farming, but the ranching. And then how's that transition going to help, right? I think that's my piece too, is to help educate that. So, but no, the people that are in the area, great brokerages, have done a lot of stuff. Some of them are doing property management for people, but just offering another option, that if that's what people are looking for, that's where we're at. But yeah, they're great people up there. I need them up there so they can sell some houses, because I don't want to do the houses.
Nope, that's fair. Some that is one thing that I did when I first started. That I started out as a broker. I didn't go work for somebody. I started on my own, which is a very rare story in this business. And a guy, it's just like you said, you had to go get a job, and so I had to go figure out and start at the beginning. And so residential real estate was where I got my start. I always had my heart in land, but yeah, those people are needed. My wife's a residential real estate agent, so we don't hate them.
No,
we
love them to death because they
we'll
do
take
it.
their referrals all day long,
Absolutely.
and give them back. I'm happy to give every house I come across to a wonderful residential agent. But
Well, Kobe, I think that's another piece just to add on to that. Look, you came on, right? You found out that for our conversation, I had a Burwell office.
Yeah.
Your next comment was, we need to co-list some lots.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is okay, great. So we co-listed those lots up there, right? Had to make some changes. You made me introduction to the owner. I think what we were talking about, our difference is we sold those lots in 10 days.
Yeah.
And I think you'd had them beforehand, before the age of maybe some of the other marketing pieces that were available. But between the two of us, we lifted that to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And, so now I think the portfolio that you and I both have of people that are looking for property in that area is a big deal. And people realize that. So, another shout out to you and a thank you for, trusting me that, hey, I could work with you and we can get these lots, put together and go on. But I think that's just going to open some doors for us because people seen the level of marketing. I mean, the buyers of those lots came from all over the state.
Yeah.
They know that area. They know the lake, the Calamus Reservoir. They wanted to be there. And again, as you and I both put that out, either was it Facebook or wherever we had stuff go out, or our direct mailers that went out on those. Boom, here we go. We got those. We got them turned. So.
Yeah. No, and that was a fun project to work with you on. I mean, in all honesty, it was quick, but our client up there is an absolute gem, a great guy, and worked with him for many years. And you're right. It was this went a lot faster than the original 6 went. So, but a little different time. I think some of that recreational stuff is really popular right now, just because of when we went through COVID. People who still have that in their mind that they were stuck in the city and they wanted some place to be able to escape to. So, Bob, real quick, I got to finish up here. Where can people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Multiple ways. You can call me direct at 402-660-4970. I take, that's my cell number. I take text, straight up phone calls. If you call and get a voicemail, please leave a message. I don't screen my calls. So if I see a number I don't recognize, phones these days will tell you if it's a spam or not, pretty much, but I'll pick up and answer. So always good with that. Facebook, you can follow me at Bob Osborne Land Agent. So again, on Facebook, Bob Osborne Land Agent. On LinkedIn, under Bob Osborne Land Agent, also on LinkedIn. And then at our website, you got AmericanLegacyLand.com. And under the agent profile, you can take a look out and get a hold of me there too. But really want to just be accessible. But any of those ways will work to get a hold of me.
Yeah, I heard it's Osborne with an E, correct?
Osborne with an E, yep.
Because I'm going to have, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Justin Osborne from Durango, Colorado on, and he has no E. He will tell you, too. Right. there's different ways to do it, I guess. But, Bob, super appreciative of you taking the time to sit down with me this morning, talk about your journey. I think it will help folks out there. And wish you the best and love working with you. And we will see you very soon.
All right, Kobe. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yep. And thank you for listening today. And we will see you all down the road.
As we wrap up another episode of the American Land Seller Podcast, thank you for joining us. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms. If you would be so kind and you enjoyed today's insights, please like, subscribe, rate, follow, and review us on whatever app you are listening or watching on. Connect with us on social media for updates. Until next week, Kobe wishes you success in your land endeavors. God bless you and have a great week.
The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by LandHub.com. At LandHub, we're revolutionizing land transactions by effectively connecting buyers and sellers. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding or marketing land for sale. We understand the power of new media marketing, leveraging social media, and targeted ads to bring together the ideal audience for all property types. LandHub.com, where your land journey begins. And American Legacy Land Company. At American Legacy, we redefine excellence in real estate. Explore our top quality offerings featuring farms, ranches, recreational properties, and even development projects spanning 10 Midwest states. Visit us at AmericanLegacyLandCo.com for a premium experience that aligns with your land ownership goals. Whether you're looking at buying or selling, we're dedicated to helping you find the land that defines your legacy.